New York Red Bulls fall to FC Cincinnati on penalties after the score was 1-1 after 90 minutes and 30 minutes of extra time. Nick Guzman here alongside James Burley for WFUV Sports. And James, despite the loss, if you can call it a loss on penalties, a very positive performance from the Red Bulls out there.
Yeah, that one's going to go down on Troy Lesesne's record as a draw in the middle of that now with 3 wins, 2 draws, and no losses under Troy Lesesne. This one will go down as an elimination in the Open Cup. They don't get their revenge on Cincy last year for the playoffs, but it's Cincy who get their revenge on the Red Bulls for the 2017 Open Cup semifinal when Cincy were still in the United Soccer League. But tonight it told a different story in which the Red Bulls, I thought, were the better team for most of the match. After conceding to Yuya Kubo's nice goal in the first half, hopefully you think Ryan Meara can do better on that sort of situation. But Cincinnati really had no grasp on the game, only 3 shots, and the Red Bulls really took it to them. It culminated into a wonderful 90th minute equalizer from Dante Vanzeir, who made his first start since getting suspended on April 8th.
Yeah, and it was an incredible goal from Vanzeir off the volley. You talk about how the Red Bulls had a lot of the positive play. They weren't creating a ton of chances in normal time, but Vanzeir had a pocket of space and just ripped that volley home to tie it and send us off to extra time. And then in extra time, the Red Bulls were all over Cincinnati. Cincinnati were playing for penalties. They were on the ropes, really, you have to say. And Vanzeir had some chances. Ball could have fallen to Elias Manuel a couple times. The Red Bulls were just pushing and pushing and pushing. We just could not find that goal. And then we went to pens, and Dante Vanzeir, who tied the game, took the first penalty for the Red Bulls, and it was saved. And Ryan Meara, who was in goal for New York in this Cup game, Fordham alum Ryan Meara, unfortunately couldn't save any of the Cincinnati penalties. They won 4-3 on penalties. But still, despite the loss, head coach Troy Lesesne was really positive after the game, and as were some of the Red Bulls players. So take a listen.
Yeah, I mean, I told them, it's when you lose in penalties, it's not a great feeling. Obviously, we did so much to invest in that match to come away and progress into the next round, but not one single player or any staff member should hang their head after that performance. It's a great performance against a very good team. Even though they're missing players, they still have a lot of quality on the field. And again, I think you saw some incredible moments from us. Like to get the second goal, obviously, during the 120 minutes, but it didn't come. But if we keep getting in those positions, then I feel really good about the direction we're going.
Thanks, Coach. Obviously, 120 minutes midweek and an already very condensed schedule and already a lineup with, you said since you were missing players, you guys have been missing players, you know that. Just how concerned are you with some of the extra load some guys are getting, and is it a concern going into this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, it's something we try to monitor. It's definitely somewhat of a concern because we want to make sure we keep as many guys healthy as possible and don't lose more players. But I think the best thing that you saw tonight was Luquinhas came back, Matt Nocita came back, and I think we're going to see another 2-3 players hopefully in the next week to 10 days come back as well. And that once we have everyone back in the roster, it's only going to help us out.
I think so. I think we've been in practice and in these games, I could feel the confidence from guys going forward, and in the attacking third especially. They have more kind of creativity I've seen from them, and we were dangerous in the first half, dangerous in the second half, and definitely in extra time as well. And I think going forward, we'll only get better. We'll only keep learning and growing as a team. And I think with some of the finishes in practice and in games here, with last week's game as well, I think it's been improvement, and I think we'll continue to improve as the season progresses.
And James, this is a Cincinnati team that's sitting in first place in the Eastern Conference, a very talented team there without Brandon Vasquez out there, but still a lot of talent on that field. The Red Bulls also missing some key players like Lewis Morgan, like Frankie Amaya, and the Red Bulls had a really, really good performance out there. And it says they're going to go on the road to Seattle and then to Miami. It's a tough stretch of games, but you take this game, you go all the way to Pens with, the best team in the Eastern Conference statistically, and I think it says something about where this team's headed under Troy Lesesne.
Not only about where they're headed, and that's obviously positive, but just about the character that this team has to continue to fight and to get results out of this game. And ultimately, they don't get the result, but they claw their way into extra time in the 90th minute off of the back of Dante Vanzeir, who comes back into this team you say the Cincinnati players weren't all there. Neither were the New York Red Bulls players, and that's something that they've had to deal with for a while, especially in Major League Soccer, which this season the schedule is incredibly condensed. They're playing 9 matches in 28 days across this stretch. Sean Nealis played through 120 minutes. Looked like he was in some turmoil and extra time. John Tolkien has played 90 minutes straight, now 120 in 6 matches straight. He's been terrific over this stretch, but you got to imagine that the legs are getting tired and more tired. But to go toe-to-toe with the Supporters Shield leading Cincinnati all the way to 120 minutes and just falling at penalties says a lot about these guys' character and where they're going. They're going to go to a tough Lumen Field. That's a very hostile environment against a historically great Seattle Sounders team. But with the upward momentum and the trajectory of this team, you have to imagine that the Red Bulls are going to go out there, they're going to fight, and they're going to look to get a result even in such a tough place. Troy Lesesne has been holding his players accountable and says that they're accountable for the top turn in the team and how they're playing much better this way. It's been an absolute revelation since they got rid of Struber and changed to Lesesne, but he puts it on the players, and I think you can see it in the way that they play. More heart, more creativity, more battle, and they're just relentless. Ultimately, they fall in this one, but a lot of positives to take away.
New York Red Bulls are out of the U.S. Open Cup. FC Cincinnati will advance to the quarterfinals. Next up for the Red Bulls, a trip, as James was mentioning, away to Seattle. Very tough place to play. It'll be a 2-game road trip for New York. After Seattle, they will head down to Miami. For Nick Guzman, James Burley for WFUV Sports, the Red Bulls fall here on penalties in the U.S. Open Cup to FC Cincinnati.